Hello and welcome to today's tutorial. I'm going to show you how to re-thread and elasticate your shaped nappies. Now, if you're a real nappy user and you buy these shaped nappies as a two-part system, you may well find the same as me, that over a few years, or in my case over a few months, the elastic on the nappies begin to stretch, lose their elasticity and end up going from something which looks a bit like this, which is nicely elasticated around the legs and the back, to something which looks more like this, a flat nappy. Still shaped, but longer and with no stretch left at all. These nappies were really completely shot. And so I finally thought, I have to fix these. I can't throw them away. They have no resale value. I either try and mend them or, at worst, I throw them away anyway. So I found out it was really easy to do, and I want to share this with everyone on YouTube. So hopefully you'll follow my tutorial and you'll be able to do the same with your nappies. Thank you. Okay, these are the things that we're going to need to fix the nappy. Lots and lots of pins. So I've got a pile of pins there. Scissors, tape measure. You'll also need a pile of elastic. I've got some really cheap elastic from the market. This doesn't really cost very much at all. It's really just cheap quality, about 1 centimetre or so. Just any sort of elastic you've got, long piece of elastic you've got in your sewing box will be just fine. A little biro for marking the elastic. A seam ripper, these wonderful little things, which we should be doing to make incisions into the nappies. Or you can use some scissors with some sharp pointy ends. My final little thing is a little thing I've invented. I'm sure you can buy these things. I'm not really a sewer. I've made it out of an insulated electrical wire. You can see here. I chose this because it was a very soft, wire. I folded over the end so that this can be inserted into the tissue without snagging on the tissue at all. It's got a nice long piece of string attached to it, just knotted onto the end. It really is very basic, homemade, but does the trick for this job, so it's great. I'm sure I've forgotten something, but we can always add to that later. These are the main things you need to re-elasticate your nappies with. The first step with these nappies is to turn the nappy facing forward. So this is the label, this is the upside. And we're going to mark on the nappy with pins where we're going to make our incisions to insert the plastic. Now, we're going to make our incisions more or less the place where the original elastic was attached in the nappy. In these you can feel it. It's about here, and again just about here. I'm going to mark that on both sides, and then at the back it's about 1 centimetre or 2 in from the velcroed piece here, laundry tab here, and the same on this side here. So first of all I'm going to mark those 6 points and before making any incision. So on the nappy now you can see the pins, little coloured heads, which will zoom in. So just a simple marking of the area up the nappy here. Now it's very important that the pin goes through just the top layer of the nappy. If you like, the nappies are made of 2 layers, the top and the bottom, and these are made of bamboo on this particular model, and they're sewn together along the seam, and then between the 2 layers there's a fluffy absorbent material. And what we want to do is just to pierce the top layer. That's all we want to do, and when we cut through it we also want to only cut through the top layer. We do not want to cut through onto the bottom. So we want to go in about 1 centimetre in from the seam point, from the edge of the tissue, edge of the nappy, because later on you'll see when I've got the presser foot you don't want to be running along the edge. It's very thick and needles can break and so on. So we're just going to make an incision itself only about 1/2 centimetre, really very small incision point at each these 2 points. And I'm just going to make it a little bit more apparent by wiggling my seam ripper, so you can see it. And I'm going to do exactly the same at this end, separating the tissue, making sure I get my seam ripper in. You can use sharp scissors to do this too, of course. There. So we've got 2 holes, one at the bottom, one at the top. We're going to take my wonderful widget or whatever tool you have for this and simply slot it into the bottom of the nappy, push it away to the top of the nappy. Because it's a short distance, it's easy to follow through with your fingers. We really are not going very far. And we are going to come out of the top of the nappy there. There's the top of my wire, out it comes through like that. Now, as you can see, we're going to slide that string through, and you can see that it's pulled through very easily. There's no snagging, there's no catching, it's not being caught up on any of the tissue. It's a nice clean fit, that's perfect. Now the next thing to do is to measure the nappy between the 2 incision points. Measure this every single time you do this with every incision, because the distances are never exactly and precisely the same. We've got 7 inches there, so that's going to be a 3.5 inch measurement on our elastic. We're doing half measures, so we're going to half the measurement and use that for the elastic. Now, I'm going to get my biro, and I'm going to mark 2 biro markings. I'm going to leave a tab at the top. And I'm going to start my measurements at the top. I shall show you this in a second. Down to 3.5 centimetres. I'm going to do the second mark at 3.5 inches, I should say. Sorry to change between centimetres and inches. Choose whichever measurement's the easiest for you. And you can see I've left a centimetre or so at the top. I've got my measurement, and I made a second marking at the bottom. And you'll see why that's useful in a bit. I'm going to tie my string around the elastic, give it a knot. We're not going fast, so hopefully 1 knot will be enough. You could try pulling it straight through. If it won't go immediately, I use a seam ripper just to help it along into that first hole, just to help it in. Pull at the same time. As you can see, there it goes through. And out the other side. That I've got the a little piece of elastic there still sticking out, which I've pinned in place. I've got a second pin along the length of the elastic that's going between the 2 layers of the nappy tissue, and it's digging into the top layer of the nappy tissue into the elastic, just keeping that in place so that stays nice and vertical here. And the unstretched elastic is now coming out the other side here. We're not stretching it just yet. And what we're going to do is we're going to sew this in place with a simple zigzag down and up and around and a bit, just to fix this into place here. That's the next step. So here's my sewing machine I've got set up. I've got the nappy underneath. Just wanted to show you what's going on under here. I've got the nappy. You can see the blue pin still in place there, and the pink one lengthways in. You can see that a bit better if I hold it up slightly. The nappy I've just put underneath, just so the elastic can see through. Now, it's very important at this point to mention that where you've made the hole for the elastic, it's not too close to the seam. Now, this is because once I've put the foot down, the presser foot on the sewing machine onto the nappy, you don't really want it touching this side because it just gets in the way. It's very thick material. You've got these 2 very absorbent layers sandwiched together at the seam, and so this presser foot and the needle, they're not going to do any. They're not going to be able to pierce it. They're not, you know, it's just an encumbrance, this whole area here. So we wanted to very much sew onto the flat nappy bit here. So we're very much working on the limit of the nappy, as far to the outside as possible. And there, yes, I'm just going to I've just set the settings to a zigzag, a simple zigzag, and we'll see how that goes.
going through the elastic there. Nice and place it now into the tissue of the nappy, good and proper. Going nice and slowly. There's no need to rush because we're not actually doing very much sewing. We want to make sure that we get a good tight, so back and forth with our nappy. Just to fix that elastic into place there, I'm just going to leave it at that. So really, not very much. Let's take the lid off, and hopefully this will just slide out. I can just use our unclipper, and we can have a look at that there. Let's move in and do a nice zoom. There you can see I've sewn it into place. Yeah, this is the I've snipped, trimmed the elastic. You can see there's the blue mark from where I made the barrow mark on my elastics. There's a little bit of elastic still out, that's all sewn in, and it's sewn in below as well. So that's nice and tightly in place. And if I pull away, you can see just how completely invisible that is, even with that barrow mark, just to show you, for your benefit really, to show you what's been going on there. I'm really impressed with it. At the other end, we're going to pull the elastic through. Okay, I pulled through the elastic, and there's the very faint mark where I've left on the elastic. That's come through. And as you can see, that tightens up the rest of the nappy into place. Now I'm going to fix this piece of elastic with some pins, and I'm going to sew this end in exactly the same way. So finally, I've got to the stage where I've actually sewn in the second the second end of the elastic here, and I can now remove the pins, which is what I'm going to do. First of all, remove these pins. And then at this point, we can actually snip the elastic. This is the first time we're going to actually snip this elastic. Detach it completely, stretch it. Obviously don't want to snip any of the stitches, but we want to take off the maximum possible of that elastic, so you can barely see it. And if you can have a look in there, you really can barely see anything. One side is completely shot, and the other side is now nice and elasticated. So I'm just going to do the same thing on this side, and the same thing at the top, and that is that. So simple. Okay, so we're at the end of our project. I've finished this nappy. It's now got elastic in the top, and then each side, each leg. It's a size 1 nappy. That actually looks like a size 1 nappy now. It's the right length for a size 1 nappy. And it's ready to use. So hopefully you followed the instructions. You found them easy enough to follow too. And hopefully you'll be able to do the same. Please let me know about your projects. Thank you.